There we go. All right, let's see here. Devices. All right. Can you hear me there? You just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Parker, can you hear me? Yeah, awesome. You didn't give me the thumbs up. I was
I
like,
got
maybe
you,
he
Juan.
can't.
Yeah.
Maybe he can't. All right. Well, I've been using this other head. Oh, it's off. No, it's here. It's still on. I've been using this other headset, and all of a sudden it goes to my other one, and I start talking, and nobody can hear me on the Teams. And today's been a day like one of those that I'm talking. People's like, "You're muted." I was like, "I'm not. I'm just on the wrong headset." All right, let me do something real quick. For some reason, it's asking me to admit some people, and I don't know if they're
Yeah,
if
I've
it's
been
some.
working it as you've been kind of setting
Okay,
up. So yeah, been letting everybody in.
let me change the meeting options here real quick. Everyone safe. There we go. I always forget about that. Always
Man,
forget
I
that
accidentally
setting.
let Sean Lardo in too. I messed up. Oh well, that's okay.
All right, so let me go ahead and share. I do have that one. All right, so this session is being recorded. So yes, we will record this session. It is currently being recorded. There's my slide, so I never try not to forget that. And let's go ahead and get this started. I know everybody's muted. I'm going to be honest. I set this up as a webinar. This is the partner-led user group session for this month. We have members for all the different user groups, and I will go ahead and unmute everything once Parker starts, and I can start messing with the with the settings. So if anybody has a question, they can speak up. If I cannot figure it out, then just use the chat. I'll be moderating that, and then I can read those and ask Parker as he goes through it. So again, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to join us for this webinar. We're going to be focusing today on project management on the PSA site, and we're very excited to have Parker with us. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping items. Again, this session is being recorded, so we will post it and share with everybody. So if you want, go ahead and take a look back or share with anybody within your team that was not able to make it. You can share that link. Just a couple of items on the upcoming events. So next month, we're going to complement this session. Movila is going to be presenting, and they're going to be talking about project management and how they can complement your PSA installation. On March, the user group for the Chicago group will be in the Chicago area, and now it's tentative Thursday, March 14th. We're still finalizing all the details, so just keep an eye on the site and also on the emails that get sent out for the upcoming user groups. We will have also a webinar on March 7th, which will be the week before, and then on April we have the two user groups for Charlotte and Philadelphia. Again, looks like those dates are still up in the air right now, so just keep an eye on the ConnectWise University and for future dates, and also on your email. And then the webinar for the month of April will be around Psychic and RPA. Speaking of Psychic and RPA, I wouldn't be a good facilitator if I didn't remind everybody about Automation Nation, which is next month. Either the two options you have, either February 5 and 6 or 8 and 9, and that will be over at headquarters in Tampa. So
It's warmer down there. That's all I'm saying. Like, it's good time of year.
Absolutely. I am signed up just for that. It's just like Florida, February, I'm in. So just to get deeper look at the Psychic RPA and also the RMM and Automate, if you haven't looked at the agenda, there's a lot of information in there if you still undecided on that. All right, so again, just use your chat to participate. If you have any questions, I'll be moderating that. If you have any questions during our talk. And then with that, I'm going to hand off to Parker. Parker is Director of Product over at ConnectWise. He's been, I stole all this from the ConnectWise side. It's very interesting. You've been with ConnectWise since 2014, been a sales engineer, solutions architect, manager of sales engineering, product manager, and now director of product. He's an advocate of the IT Nation community, and enjoys talking to other members and the impact that we have in the community. Besides being ConnectWise, is this still true? You still hold the record for the 50-meter backstroke in the St. Petersburg Summer Swim League from 1996?
It is
still
true.
Holding? Still strong?
Holding. All right. Still holding. I think my oldest son is aiming to take care of that, but yeah.
Great.
Yeah, still there.
Awesome. So we're very excited for him to share insights when it comes to the PSA project management module. He's going to show us some of the new features that have been released, how you can enable that inside your tool. And as we were talking, I see deploys these new features. You don't have to. It's not something you're going to turn on for everybody, right? So you can actually test it and see if it's going to if it fits. If you just want to play around with it and then be able to deploy it to your whole team. So I'm going to let him explain all this. So with that, Parker, take it away, buddy. And you're muted.
All right. So
there you go.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Usually there's a little screen that pops up that allows me to unmute, but I had an intro slide, but Juan just did a great job already. So I don't even need to get into that. So one of the things I want to talk a little bit about, and I won't spend a ton of time on it, is, kind of what is ASIO. ASIO is the platform that we're working towards bringing all of our different solutions to. And I'll talk a little bit about the journey that the PSA has been on for the last, say, year and a half or so to get there. Why is it important? The reason it's important is it's a centralized place of engagement for basically every persona inside of your business, right? But it also will allow us to be able to iterate and get releases out faster in particular areas as we start to move over all these different elements over into ASIO. So what is that journey going to kind of look like for PSA partners in the cloud, right? It's, this is kind of where you're at today. And when you start to enable some of these new things, when you start to opt in to start leveraging things like project management, procurement, time, sales orders here in just a little bit, you'll start to see new entries, right? Where it says my projects ASIO. And that's kind of what Juan was talking about. when he was kind of introducing this, is you'll have the ability to, choose by security role who can see those different elements and who can't. So with that, that's kind of the interface, that we're going to be looking at now. And then in the future, once we get kind of all these different elements done, you'll log in and you'll start to see things side by side with RMM right there and all the security products as well, just in a single interface based on kind of that user's roles and rights. So do you want to focus a little bit on the project management stuff that we did talk about and kind of released on main stage at IT Nation? We've kind of taken the approach of reimagining project management as a whole. You'll see that the user interface is completely different. It's been rethought out. We'll have the ability to do things like more intuitively drag and drop different elements in like editing. Kind of, you can do it today, but you can actually tell that you can do it today. Trying to really minimize the clicks. So that way the information you need is where you need it, when you need it. You'll also see kind of our Kanban board that's been introduced into project management, as well as a refreshed Gantt chart overall. So, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the slides because we're going to get right into actually seeing it in action and obviously be able to field any questions you have. But the reason I wanted to show this first screen here is because we wanted to kind of make it as quick as possible to initiate a new project. If you want to create a new project, we're not requiring a ton of fields up front. You essentially got to get the project name in, the project board, start date, end date, kind of a company, and then you can save that and start building out your work plan. When you open up a project, it actually is going to take you directly to the work plan. That's where we found a lot of people are actually spending their time and doing that. You'll see, the look and feel is a little bit different with that. But we also have the Kanban board. So that way you can actually drag and drop tickets to move them along. You'll have the ability to, pull up the tickets very quickly and very easily as well. And then also kind of that reimagined Gantt chart also. So when I was actually prepping for this and I was mentioning, hey, this is already out for people to be able to opt into, Juan was like, I didn't know that. Where do you do that? So I thought, well, if Juan doesn't know, we probably need to do a better job of kind of communicating some of that. So how do you enable this if you are interested in checking this out? What you do is you go into your setup tables and you, in the table column, I just type it in manage usually and hit enter. You could type in manage labs and it would pull that up. And then you'll see a list of all the different labs that you have available. All you'd have to do, ASIO projects is the lab that you'd want to turn on. So you just do that. Mark it as active, and then you'll have the ability to access the screens that I'm going to get ready to walk you through. So let me go ahead and pull that off to the side. And you'll notice when you enable that lab, and I have that enabled in this particular system, you'll see that I have my projects, ASIO, and then also I have a project board with ASIO next to it. And one of the things that I think is important for you all to understand is that I can actually use the new functionality. So this is kind of the new screen with some of the new filtering that we have in there as well. But we can use this side by side with what you currently have. So I don't have to choose one or the other. And the reason we're doing that is, there are some pieces from a functional parity perspective we still need to work on. With projects like some of the custom fields and where those are showing. We need to get that wrapped up, but it's in a place now where we've got, 85, 90% of the functionality there. We want to get it in your hands and we want to start getting additional feedback. We had it open for some of our early adopters. For those that aren't engaged in our virtual community, I would definitely recommend going and checking in on that virtual community and signing up if you haven't, because that's where we actually put out and look for volunteers to say, hey, you know what, we've got this. Are you interested in providing feedback, trying it before everyone else has an opportunity to do so? And you can do that. So what I'll do is let me go into this January example. And as I mentioned, typically before what you'd see in the projects, it would take you to like the project details. Here, we're taking you directly into the work plan. And with the work plan, we do have it to where, again, no real difference in functionality. We can do phases, as many different sub phases as you want. You have the ability to add tickets, but it's all interactive right here. So for this particular ticket, if I want to add a task, for that, I have the ability, I can just simply click on it, and then I can put in a task underneath. So I'll just call that example task, and it's there. We have some different options as it relates to taking actions. So again, I can, select these different rows, select the whole phase, take actions based on that to move it up or down. The drag and drop functionality. So if you see these different items here, I'll have the ability to actually move around the different aspects of the project to different spots. And everything that we have here is also interactive as well for inline editing. So if I need to make any changes for that particular line item, at least the common areas, I can go ahead and make those changes right there. But one of the things that I mentioned was kind of reducing clicks and trying to bring the information to you where you need it. For any of these particular tickets, you'll see this button here, and if I click that, it'll supply me with a flyout. So this is actually giving me any of the ticket details that we have on that particular item. I have, any attachments that I would have related to that particular ticket. If I've established any dependencies, so in this particular case, I've got a dependency on the wiring work. So that's been established with, different lag days in there, but I can also, set up new and different dependencies across that particular project in there. And then we also have the ability to do our communication, right? So if we're sending communication out to the client, we can do that. We also have the ability to add time in there as well, just like you would in a normal ticket. But I can do that, simply close that out, takes me back to my work plan. Whereas before, I'm having to click into the ticket, it reloads the whole screen. If I want to get into a task, that's another set of clicks to get in there. So here I can actually see not only my tickets, my tasks. If I want to close a task, I can just simply click that, and it visually shows me that particular item is closed. And as we start entering information related to, time and hours in that particular ticket, we can make that happen. If I need to add additional phases, I can quickly and easily do that as well. Just simply click on that line item, and I'll just call this my newest phase. Obviously, had some capitalization issues there, but that's not a problem because then we'd have the ability to actually drill in and get that fixed. From a template perspective, we do have the ability to actually leverage any templates that you have set up today inside of the PSA. So if you've already established any project templates, you'll have the ability to do that and apply that to your project. That's actually how I established the majority of this particular project that I had loaded on the screen. Now, we also have introduced our Kanban board. So our Kanban board has all the different statuses that we've established. This is where we can actually move the particular tickets into the statuses very quickly and very easily. Just like we had on the previous screen, I can click on that particular item. It'll bring up my flyout where, again, I can put in my details. I can add the dates for these particular items. And let's go ahead and just set that to a couple days. So we got that in there, and then get back to work on what we were doing overall. And if we have, different, individuals attached or tasks in there, we have that in there as well. As we start to add different individuals, you'll start to see their images would start to appear as well as we start to build out that project and then start working the project overall. So right now, I think I've only got dates on my site survey. So those would be the only things that start to show there, but you'll notice that I've got my phase that's showing, and then that particular ticket as part of the phase. As those start to get scheduled out more, we start to see those in the overall project. So with the work plan, obviously space is a premium as well. We have, some different things that we've started to try and incorporate. So if you want to see a few more rows, you can make it a little bit more compact. We are working a little bit, on, breadcrumbs up at the top, how we go back. We have our, finance tabs and those types of things under what we call our quick access. So we are trying to get away from just having tons of tabs up at the top where it can become very unmanageable. So a lot of the common elements that you might need to access quickly, like if there's products assigned to this particular project, if there's information on the finance tab that we would maybe need to fill out, we can get that right there in our quick access tab. So all of these different screens have essentially been, reimagined, new user interface. We want to get, map information, those types of things that'll, take us to, those different tools that we have inside of the system. So really trying to bring just a fresher look, again, a more intuitive, less clicks, just get the information where you need it in front of you. With this, and as it relates to the menu items, these new menu items will also show up under those security roles. So let's say I only want a subset of my team to be able to see that. You'll have the control to do that. You'll be able to assign it to a particular security role, and then they can start to use that and say, all right, I think we're in a spot where I'm comfortable with the layout. We can start to train the team, transition the team to this particular look and feel. We didn't want to just simply release that and just do a bulk replace. And that's really what this journey as we move things to ASIO is going to be all about. So similar thing in procurement. Later this month, we're going to open it up to where you'll be able to opt into any of the procurement things that we've done, where we've got, purchasing approvals, purchase orders, inventory management as well, reimagined in some of our, ASIO interface and ASIO experience, including things like change order also that have been done on the purchase order side of things. So with that, let me go back to kind of my projects. And anytime you're looking to create kind of a new project, you just simply hit that create button. And as I mentioned before, we really wanted to try and simplify this. So we can go ahead and pick our project boards. We'll go ahead and say this is, say, implementation projects. I'll be the PM on that. Keep the status, and then we'll assign this to a particular company. So I'll do a search, get that assigned to J&B Legal, and then based on that information, we've got kind of our primary contact there, and it'll pull our site information as well directly in there for us. Once we get that created, that's done. And then we'll have, and you'll see, we'll, post those kind of success messages. If there's some sort of an issue with like an upload, anything like that, you'd be able to see those as you're working it. We can start with a blank work plan at any point. Again, we can take actions once we actually add those particular items. I'm going to go ahead and add a template. So we'll just go ahead and apply a new template. I'll do the same one that I did before, the ShoreTel, apply that. And it'll pull everything that we had already previously established. So if you already had those different phases, tickets, tasks, anything that you've templated out inside of the projects, inside of the current PSA. And that's the nice part is when you're doing this, you don't have to start from scratch. I don't have to reestablish my statuses. I don't have to reestablish my templates. I'm not having to really change much of anything. Excuse me, because we're leveraging a lot of what you already have set up inside of your project's module. So Juan, I'm not sure if there's any questions that have been posted at all to this point. There we go.
Yeah, we do have a couple of questions.
All right, let me take a look
we'll
here.
start from the top.
Yep.
Trevor says, and I think you answered this when you were actually going through it, will the current templates and tasks that are built into current projects will transfer over?
Absolutely. So
Okay.
for example, like the Cisco refresh project, I'll go ahead and pull that up here. That was an existing project. It's already got a work plan. It's got, different items in there. If I were to turn this on, I would be able to see all of my active projects. And again, Cisco refresh would also be there. So also the ones that we're creating through this interface, you'll notice will be available in the old interface as well. So just as you start to get used to it, you'll have the ability to see the differences between those two.
Okay. Also, can you still convert sales orders into projects?
Yes.
Yeah, that
Yes.
functionality is still
So
there.
one of the things that's going to happen though, until we get more of the different screens converted over to ASIO, you'll notice that we're going to have, like on the conversion screens, typically it'll open up a screen. It's likely going to open up the old PSA screen, ConnectWise PSA, for a period of time. Once we start to get all of those different things enabled across the board, that's when we're going to start to enable and say, hey, okay, you have this new projects turned on, you're using it, and it'll actually open up the new screen as opposed to the old screen. So that'll be a period of time till we get there.
Okay. All right. Nicole also had another question in here. It says, on enabling this ASIO view of projects, you mentioned security role settings. Is it only enabling for managed labs, or do we also need to go into security roles for each role and then enable it there?
You would, yeah. So we're not, that's a great question. You would also need to go into the security role to enable it there. And we did that on purpose. We didn't want to assume that if you enable this, that you wanted everybody that has current access to projects to be able to see that. We saw that with a lot of our early access partners. They wanted to have kind of that control, and that's why we implemented that.
Okay. Also, Trevor asked, do we create workflows the same?
Yes, workflows would
Yep.
essentially be the same for now. Yep. So as we kind
Okay.
of continue on that journey and we get more in with the ASIO workflow engine and RPAs and those types of things, you'll see some of those things change. But for now, all the workflow stuff would still be the same backend.
Okay. Patty, and I also have the same question here. I do not see it on the how to enable it. We're running on-prem PSA.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so for on-premise partners, it is not currently available. We're having to be very careful about how we approach this with on-premise partners, because with ASIO, some of the things that we are building are new microservices. They're not part of the managed release. They're not part of the managed build. Some of those things sometimes also require potentially different infrastructure to kind of support some of those items. So not currently available for on-premise partners, but as we start to work through this, there may be some elements of ASIO elements that we can provide to our current partners also, but not there today. So great question.
Okay. For attachments, is there a way to organize these, or is it still just a list with everything to sort through? This was from Amanda.
Okay. Yeah, Amanda, I guess.
And everybody, by the way, you can come off mute. So Amanda, if you want to elaborate on that one, you can unmute
Sure.
yourself. And
So the question is more of, this is for documentation purposes. Like there's a lot of documents that we gather from the client throughout, and currently, like every time you email, that also becomes an attachment. So like as we're trying to go find the documentation from the client, it's this big long list, and like we'll end up sometimes with over 700 attachments on a project because we do some large scale voice deployments, and it just becomes horrible to try and find the documentation. So is there a way, like can you create a folder structure? Like, is there anything new on that attachment side for the documentation for the projects?
Not yet. So great feedback, though. That is something we've heard before as well. Just trying to find the document from 6 months ago that we attached can be very difficult if you have, a lot of that communication back and forth. So yeah, not today, but definitely something that we'll look into.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
all right, I'm going to
And that
jump
would
back
apply
in.
to tickets, not just project tickets. I think probably just even, from a service desk perspective as well.
All right, and Amanda was also asking if there's a view for leadership team to see all the projects and the status from an overall view.
Yeah, so right now, I mean, we've got our ASIO project board where you can see a number of your different items in there. One of the things we do plan to add to the Kanban board, we are looking at a Kanban view across multiple projects also. So that is something that the team's currently working on, but basically the project board would probably be the best way to see that across the different statuses of those particular items, revenue amount billed, those types of things.
Okay. All right. Patrick asked, when will these ASIO views be available for on-prem ConnectWise PSA deployments? I think you already answered that.
Yeah, already said still no timeline on that, but we are definitely looking at it. Again, I mean, Sidekick and some of the automation there was kind of our first priority to make sure that we enabled that. And now the team's kind of looking at what we can potentially do for some of these areas of ASIO reimagination.
Okay, can we still convert opportunities to projects?
Yeah,
Adam?
still can do that. No changes there.
All right. And Rob, is there an overall Gantt chart? Gantt of Gantts.
Gantt of Gantts. No Gantt of Gantts yet. Yeah, main focus of the team right now has been really trying to optimize the individual project at the moment. But similar to like the Kanban, that is something that's we know is kind of a need. Just wasn't one of the higher priority items that we wanted to try and get out. But yeah, we are aware of it. Good question, Rob.
All right. We don't have any other questions on the list right now. And like I said, you guys can come off mute if you have any questions. Feel free to jump in here. I thought I had to update my PSA instance because last time when we talked, I couldn't see that the ConnectWise lab. So thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, no problem.
Looking forward for that timeline.
Yeah. Yeah, we had to kind of delay a little bit as far as announcing kind of in release notes and those types of things. I mean, we had it on our roadmap just because we had, a date issue that we wanted to address for our EU and AU partners. So it didn't necessarily cause a whole lot of confusion to say, hey, everybody can, opt into that. So we wanted to make sure we got that resolved just so that way our friends in support didn't get hit with, a couple reports of an issue we were already aware of.
I do have another question, if you don't mind. This is Amanda again.
Yeah, go for it.
So from the client perspective, will there be any additions or will there be any changes for how it works in the portal? For example, one of the things that we also work off of a lot is forms, and we ask them to fill out forms for different extension lists and all of that. And right now, like through the ticket, it's kind of clunky because we'll send it off to them and it'll have an attachment, and then they'll send it back in an attachment, and they'll forward it amongst themselves and all of that. And like sometimes it comes back to us and it's just a hot mess. Is there a way in the portal for us to send them a form and then they can fill it out like in the portal and submit it versus trying to like send it back and forth via ticket?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that would really be there in the portal is just kind of the progress of the actual project. There's not anything as it relates to, sending them a particular form and doing that today. The good news is everything that we have here with the ASIO stuff will go into the existing portal. So no changes there, but yeah, nothing, Amanda, as far as that's concerned, kind of that use case that you provided.
Okay.
What types of things are you having them sign off on? Is it basically just progress on the particular project to say kind of them confirming like, yep, this is complete, I sign off on it?
No, it's more forms of stuff like during discovery we'll do on our voice side. It'll be like, here's we need you to list out go through, especially for large deployments. Like sometimes we'll have, deployments where there's 700 different phones, and it'll be like, we need your DID list and extension list by site and that. And so we have different forms that we just have them kind of go through and fill out, so that way we understand like how many users do you have at different sites, who are they, and that type of stuff. So it's really more of just, it's not sign-offs necessarily, it's more like discovery
information
sheets.
gathering.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Yeah, thanks for providing that clarification.
Mm-hmm.
I've got another question. This is Nicole.
Sure.
I run a number of workflows for projects, and just so if you're setting up two boards that mirror each other, how will workflows be impacted as a result of activating this ASIO?
Yeah, workflows should not be impacted in any way. We made no significant structural changes to the back end. So that way there would be no negative impact for existing things that have been established inside of the PSA. So
okay.
Things that you have established there should continue to work the way you have them set up.
So it's one single project board it's the same on both. So it's the same project board, but it's different views. One of the classic view and then one the ASIO.
Correct. View. Yeah. Think of it almost like Salesforce Classic versus Salesforce. What do they call it? Dang it.
Well, it's not a good example. That's not a good example for me because I don't use Salesforce.
Okay. Yeah.
But so from a workflow perspective, and if staff wants the ASIO platform to be more of their focus, are we able to create workflows for the ASIO board?
Yeah, so it's not going to be looked at as a separate projects board. Essentially, like all the boards that you had previously set up, you'll see in ASIO as well. So when I was actually setting up that particular project, you'll see the same boards that you had in your ConnectWise PSA today, you'll see listed in ASIO. So it's a one-to-one, exactly the same.
Oh, and yeah, that hence the reason for my ask is because if project workflows are set, how do we then create workflows for the new visual under ASIO? Is it based on a board? Because that's typically how you drill down for workflows today.
Yep. It would be based on board, but there's not a uniqueness between ASIO project boards and the current PSA boards.
So otherwise, I just have to if I want all my.
No need to copy. Whatever you have today will still work today. So
I don't think you're really hearing what I'm saying.
Okay.
So I'll just discover it for myself. Thanks.
Sorry, Nicole.
I have kind of a follow-up, which maybe will help a little bit. This is Amanda again. Are you like the data set itself doesn't change? Is that what you're saying? So like if we have any break gauge reports and dashboards and all of that, like none of that will have to, we won't have to do anything because the data set itself is the same. It's just the front end facing part that's changing, correct?
Correct. The front end is essentially changing, and then just how that front end basically moves things. It's the same back end. So yes, nothing that you have already set up in break gauge would need to change. The reporting would still be established. No impact to any of that.
Yeah, that was not my question. My question has to do with workflows and the different activities and notifications and actions and automation that we have there. So if I have staff who are focused only looking at and using the ASIO projects view, how are they going to see or realize any of what the workflow is producing if they're not looking at the old project? So my assumption is, if you're telling me that both are not impacted by the workflow. The workflow remains with the older view, then intuitively I would think I would have to either copy or recreate the structure that I have in place for project workflows for this new ASIO platform.
Okay. So everything that you have established in your workflow, if there was maybe some automation related to, a notification for this particular ticket, right? Or moving this particular ticket to a different status, something along those lines.
Yep, exactly.
That would still happen in this new view. So if you have that tied to, in this particular case, if something's on the VAR board, it's been on the VAR board, we have, it's in the, do not respond status or has not been responded to, and I want to automatically close that, those workflow actions would still execute against that particular item in this new view. You don't have to, in the workflow setup, there isn't an ASIO section that you would go to. Everything that you've already established inside your workflow automation would still take action on these phases and tickets here.
Okay, that was what I was originally asking, and I heard you say no. So okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay.
Parker, is there anything, I know I when it comes to ASIO, this is going to be more ASIO specific.
Mhm.
I have access because there's other tools that we're using inside of ASIO, but is there anything that partners need to do in order to get ready to when things become available? So let's say, for example, if nobody's accessing the ASIO platform now, this is something that it's, picks some of the partners' attention to be ready for this when it gets deployed. Is there anything that they should do to be
Yeah, it's a
ready
great
for it?
question. I think keep an eye on the roadmap. So when you go to the university and you click on that and you see roadmap, you'll see some of the things that we're working on in business management that'll start to become available inside of the PSA. So as we make this available, we're making it available inside for cloud partners in the PSA, so that way you can start to use it side by side. Like we really want to transition you to this, as opposed to like, don't think migration, right? We're not necessarily going to be moving lots of data. It's we're intentionally trying to keep a lot of the back end of the same, those types of things. That way you can use it side by side. You can start to implement those things, and when you're comfortable, I can just remove, right, the old, my project screen, and I'm just using my project's ASIO going forward. So I think, Juan, to your question, keep an eye on the roadmap. We're doing webinars on a lot of the new functionality too. So if you're not sure whether you want to kind of opt in and give it a try, you can attend those types of things and walk through it. But really, it's just however you're using your PSA today, we're trying to bring that forward and potentially add some optimization to it. So you'll probably get some new features along the way, but there really isn't anything that you need to necessarily prepare for.
Okay.
Okay, I guess I have a question along that line. This is Nicole again.
Sure.
If we're going to be seeing duplicates of things, just to be able to trial the ASIO platform options, it's been quite challenging to follow what the communication that's been out there for this. So I'm concerned that when you all decide the ASIO platform is stable and we're just everything is going to be that, and we're turning off the old, that there will be enough communication visible well so that we all understand all that duplication is going away, and now we're solidly in the ASIO world.
Yeah. So I think, to your point, sounds like we do need to do a better job just as it relates to, how these things are being made available, when they're being made available. We understand that, you guys are running a business. We don't want to disrupt that. So, if there is going to be more of a transition that says, hey, one day you're going to log in and you're just going to go to this new interface, that's not going to be like in a day or a week. We're going to, proactively communicate that for several months ahead of time. And we'll leverage things like this from a user group perspective in our daily, or not our daily, our monthly roadmap sessions. We'll continue to communicate those types of things there as well. But I totally understand, Nicole, where the concern may be, because, I'm not a huge change, fan if my interface is changing all the time, and that's really why we took kind of this approach, more of the opt-in, and it'll be opt-in for quite some time.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I like change. I welcome it because that means growth and initiative and ingenuity. But what I don't like is I've got 50 users using the project as it has been, and I turn on a subset of them, maybe 10 of them, to trial run this new, and then not be given enough communication, enough bandwidth, time to adjust when you say, okay, the old is going and we're all in new, and then I got 40 people. What happened to my projects?
Yeah, you got to get trained up, and they've not seen the new stuff yet. And yeah, that's fair. Absolutely.
Right, training
Yep.
and security role adjustments and all that. That's important that we get that communication. And honestly, what I've seen for the communication, just to know that this is available, has been scratching my head odd.
Yeah, I think just because it's new overall, Nicole, and again, just related to the just the issue that we had with the EU and Australia from a date perspective is really why that's probably a little bit delayed. Michael, I did see your note here as it relates to how do we enable that. If you go to your managed labs, so in your setup tables, you'd go to manage labs in there, you'd look for ASIO projects, and you would mark that as active. And this would be for cloud partners, North America. So Rob.
Yeah, Rob and Kyle, I think yeah, it is for only cloud partners. So on the same boat,
Okay.
on-prem, waiting for it to be released, and then Parker, you mentioned just watch the roadmap to announcement on that could be released to on-prem partners, right?
Yeah, it would be. And then for those, so Rob, I can look into why it may not be showing on yours. Same thing, Trevor. I think you had mentioned that you would want more information on that as well. And then Nicole, you're not seeing it under your managed labs.
I actually see it under managed labs.
Oh, you do? Okay.
What what I was trying to confirm with was, then we need to go and do a security role to touch, so that it then becomes actually visible for our role-based users, and that's the piece here that's not covered by your screen share, is the security role that would then need to be adjusted. But I do see it in managed labs. So we are PSA Cloud. So
Okay, perfect. Take a look real quick. All right, so if I'm looking, say, like a finance role, if I go to projects, notice how you'll see here like Kanban board, ASIO, Kanban board configuration, like those types of things, just to be able to give rights, so they'd be able to see some of those different items. And same thing for procurement. When procurement does become opt-in here later this month, you would also see some other items there from a screen perspective, like purchasing approvals, purchase orders as well. So that's where you'd have to modify it from a security role perspective to give them access to be able to see that in the interface overall. So hopefully that helps with kind of that next step.
This is Nicole again. Maybe what you thought I was saying, was not working for me. Trevor responded in chat that they've asked to be onboarded or shown how to do these things several times, and no one ever calls to do that. I've done same. I can get a salesperson to call me all day long to sell me the product, but I would think that our care team or someone whom helps with our what is available now would be interested in working with us one-on-one, so that when we've got questions about getting it set up so that we can trial it, that would be helpful. I love the fact that it actually came full circle to our user group. That's extremely helpful. So I'll be looking for the next one for procurement soon, I guess.
No, but that's good feedback too. So what I'll do is I'll work with some of our partner success and partner care team just to make sure that they've got kind of that information at their fingertips, so they can do a better job of maybe communicating that when you are reaching out. So that's good feedback. I'm sorry we kind of dropped the ball on that in the past.
That was going to be my feedback too. I think that it's another person that you can reach out is your partner success manager. That's the one that we usually harass when we want to increase some level of communication and for us, and they typically just get engaged and have that conversation. So they don't have that sales call, but at least it's that person that can help you through that. So that was going to be also my comment there. And I know it can be frustrating.
I'm used to doing that. However, my care success team member manager is always changing, and it's frustrating to always have to try and re-explain everything to a new person on such a quick turnaround. So I gather it may be a position that's hard for you to keep employed, but that's my struggle.
I'll look into it for you, Rob. I'll see what's going on there. I saw your message that you just posted. So, okay. And then Trevor as well. We did record this session. I'm not sure whether you jumped on earlier or not. Kind of went through some of those items as related to ASIO, but we can probably get you some more information. I'll take your name down.
And I'm just going to. I found a few items when it comes to ASIO. There's some documentation on the university, just introduction for if not familiar with that, and like things like how do I enable it. I know we have it enabled just because we're part of we have some of the security products that are managed through that, and also RMM. So as far as like going in and enabling, if you don't have it, I do not have the answer for that. But I just went ahead and put those two links in there. One is related to what you presented today, Parker, and it's the information on the university. If anybody wants to go ahead and review that, talks about that, and then the other one is just around ASIO.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you guys for coming out, asking the questions, engaging as well. Good, bad, in between. It's important. Always, we hear a lot. Sometimes we don't know what's being released and when. This is like just this month, so it's pretty pretty hot and fresh as far as availability. But yeah, that's how we get better is hearing from you all. So again, just really appreciate it.
We have one last question here from Nicole. In the managed lab, what is the ACO project template service and ACO project type sync? Are those needed?
So those aren't needed. That was probably need to get those cleaned up from the labs. Those were some items that we were previously working on, but instead of kind of doing them separately, we kind of rolled a lot of this stuff up into just kind of a single lab overall. So it's just, unfortunately, some cleanup that we need to do on our end.
Awesome. Any other questions before we close out? Nope. All right. Well, Parker, thank you so much for taking the time and joining and sharing this with the group. I'll be waiting for the release for on-prem.
All right, sounds good.
So, and then for those of you who are on cloud, go ahead and take advantage of that and use the links to review those and keep my personal suggestion would be just keep an eye on the roadmap on the things that are being released out there, especially with with this particular module that it's there's the first one that's and then you also mentioned the procurement module.
Yeah, procurement's going to be real soon.
Roadmap.
So yeah, keep an eye out for that.
Perfect. So, all right. Well, thank you everybody for joining today. And again, thank you, Parker, and thank you everybody for the questions, the comments, and that is the whole purpose of these sessions for the community to get together, hear from each other, learn from Parker, and Parker, hear from us as well. So thank you so much, and everybody have a great rest of your day. See you soon.